Hello, and welcome to Production and Profit, the show that pulls back the curtain on the business of show business. I'm Margot Ransom, veteran servant on the financial side of the industry. Together, we will hear from experts in the field, sharing their wisdom and experience, all with an eye to helping your project to the finish line. Here's where it gets interesting. Let's see what's on the docket today. Hello, beautiful people. I am thrilled to welcome you to this episode of Production and Profit. My guest today was handpicked to speak to those exact two things. Daren Smith, and that's with one R, is the founder of Craftsman Films and producer Fund One, where he's producing profitable indie films. He's also an author and speaker and is passionate about creating a truly independent film ecosystem that works for everyone involved. He's brought us 4 films thus far: Faith of Angels, The Carpenter, Give Me Your Eyes, and What Comes Around, just in the last couple/few years. And I'm genuinely thrilled to have him on the show. Daren, welcome.
Thank you so much. I am very honored to be here. It's been fun connecting with you online over the last few months, and I'm just really excited for the conversation we get to have today.
Yay, everybody wins. So I connected with you on LinkedIn a couple of years ago and was quickly hooked on your content. You're so prolific and live and breathe indie film. So much gold you have to offer. So we'll try and squeeze as much in as possible during our time together.
Awesome.
Before we dive deeper, I do have a quick question about The Carpenter. It looks great and I'm dying to see it, but for the life of me, I can't find it anywhere to watch. Where is it? Where's it hiding?
I believe it is streaming on a platform called Living Scriptures, and that's the only post-theatrical distribution deal that they've done so far. That's my understanding, at least. And so you could probably do a free trial. That's my guess. It's not as widely known of a platform as like Angel Studios or Netflix, obviously. But I do believe it's on there. It's not available on DVD or rental or anything. It's an interesting story that we probably don't need to go into today. But
I figured there might be more to it, but I just wanted to know where to find it so I could watch it.
yeah, livingscriptures.com, and that's a
Okay.
platform. And I believe they have it streaming there. We could do a quick search, I'm sure, but
Yep, I'll look and I'll reach out to you if I don't find it.
I do see the poster on their homepage right there. So we've got 2 of our movies on that platform, both Faith of Angels and The Carpenter. So if you want
Awesome.
to check out The Carpenter, that's where to get it.
Well, I will be doing that. And I was curious where you shot that movie.
So we actually filmed that in Cape Town, South Africa back in 2022. We went out there as, for a location scout to see which one of the 3 places that has like a Jerusalem era set should we film this movie at. And we looked at Texas because that's where they shoot The
Capernaum
Chosen.
Studios, sure.
Yeah. And they filmed the kind of sizzle reel, the 6 or 8 minute teaser sizzle back in 2020 at Capernaum Studios. So they already knew that, what that had to offer. But we called the team that did the movie Samson, and they were based in Cape Town. And we called them and they said, you have to come out. You have to look at everything we have to offer. And we went out and we met crew people, and we went to the prop father, which is, the guy who rents all the props. We saw all the stuff that they had kept from the movie Samson, all the props, all of the attire, the wardrobe, everything. And then we saw this set that was on some farmland out in Durbanville, I think it was called. And we were just like, oh, this is 80% of our movie right here, self-contained, 360-degree views with no civilization. It was just exactly what we needed. So we called it right there. We said, we're filming here. And 2 months later, we were back and we were filming.
Amazing. Do they have film incentives there? I'm curious.
They do. It's a 35% tax incentive on the in-state spend, and that
Mm,
worked really nicely.
that's a no-brainer for sure.
Local production company we partnered with is Boomtown Films, and they handled all that for us. And so it was really nice to just kind of have a turnkey production company. We showed up, about 6 or 8 of us from the States, between myself, Garrett, the writer director, and then 5 or 6 actors came over, and that was it. Everything else was local.
Amazing. What a great story. Are you willing to share what the budget was on that?
It was under 2 million, and it was over 1 million that we spent in Cape Town. And so we got a nice, I think it was about 350 or $380,000 back from the tax incentive program, which was great.
It's a nice little payday. Can
Yeah.
you tell our audience a little bit about Daren, your mission, and how you came to found Craftsman Films?
Yes, definitely. I've been trying to consolidate this answer because I can get long-winded and wordy when I talk about mission and vision and things. But really, right now, it's a focus on making this industry work for everybody instead of just a couple of people. We've seen how that's played out over the last few years with the studios and streamers. We had two strikes in 2023. I'm sure people are gearing up for other strikes next year. And, the industry is in turmoil, really. We've just heard this last week that Marvel Disney is packing up and heading to London.
Right, from Atlanta. Was it Atlanta they are? Where are they?
So they
Or,
built an entire industry there and moved a lot,
yeah,
and they built a lot of infrastructure, and now they're leaving.
I
And so
saw
it
that.
just seems like I'm not here to say that the industry owes you a job or a career or success, because I don't believe that. But I do think that there are better structures that can be created and can exist that make it possible for more people to participate in a financially stable way in this industry, which I love. And so my mission right now, you probably thought I was going to say, I want to make great movies. And yes, that's part of it. But the movies are the vehicle that get us to a world where anybody who wants to participate in this industry can learn how to do so in a profitable, sustainable way. It's still going to take a lot of work. It's still going to take some luck and grace, and
Yeah,
you're still going to have to work really hard, and it will take time. It's not like you can show up in Atlanta or now London and say, I want to work on Marvel movies, and then the next year you're directing Marvel movies. That's just not realistic. But I do think this is why we have this name, Truly Independent, for our podcast, is that I believe it's possible for people to become independent, truly independent, and have more control over their career, the projects they work on, the amount of money that they make if they take responsibility for certain aspects of the process. So a lot of what I do outside of just producing good movies is writing about, talking about, speaking about, being interviewed about this process of how do we do that. So that's as condensed as I've gotten so far. How's that?
that's pretty good. And I'm going to just add to it because it's on your website. And I think it's really important about making movies that you can watch with your children and your children's children. And then there's like a generational legacy that's really important too.
Yeah, there's definitely a big mission when it comes to the types of films I want to make. The first two that I produced were really like, I want to be a producer. It took me 12 years to produce my first indie film. I was working really hard to try and
Wow.
write and produce and raise money for indie films, and it didn't work. Nothing that I did worked. And then I left a business that I was a co-owner of and went out on my own as an indie producer. I did 4 seasons of a television show over like 2 or 3 years, and then worked on a project in the middle of that process of being on a show for a director that a year later, after working on this documentary project, called up and said, do you want to produce my movie? I said, absolutely. And so that was 12 years from I want to be a producer to I am a producer of an independent feature film. And so I did two movies that were kind of R-rated, not the kind of movies that my kids can watch. And I have three boys. They're 11, 12, and 14. And I love watching movies with my family. Like that's what we do as a family. We go to the theaters, we watch movies at home. That's our Sunday afternoon lazy activity is let's turn on Star Wars or something classic that we haven't seen before, right? And the last two movies I did are, PG, or yeah, I think they're both PG. Maybe The Carpenter was PG-13, but they're faith-based films that the whole family can watch. And I took my 90-year-old grandma to go see him and my 10-year-old son to go see him at the premiere, and everybody loved it. I was like, this is really what it's for, what it's about for me. And so I got nothing against R-rated movies and stuff that is not good for kids, but I don't want to put my name on movies that I would have to turn off when my kid walks in the room. And so it
Yeah.
comes down to how can we make more movies that change people for the better, movies that spark conversation, movies that you want to watch with your kids, that they're going to want to watch in 30 years with their kids because they're that good. That's the kind of movies I'm looking to make as a producer now.
And their grandpa made it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. One of the first things that struck me when I started reading your content was your unique focus on relentlessly leaning into film as a business. And that resonated deeply with me as an accountant and a business owner myself, because I think it's human nature, especially when it's a passion project, to focus on the creative and the art of it all and perhaps overlook crucial financial aspects of film and paint a rosier picture than is realistic with the numbers. I have this quote from you that says, when you start seeing yourself as a business owner rather than just a creator and start acting the part, everything changes. Can you talk to me about the mindset required to get a film project off the ground?
Yeah, I think that quote and the kind of ethos that it's espousing is a direct reflection of my own journey as a creator. So, like I said, it took me 12 years. And in those 12 years, I was producing, but I was producing commercial projects and industrials and documentaries and short films and YouTube videos and all those things. And I really over indexed on the craft of being a filmmaker. So I learned how to shoot, I learned how to edit, I learned how to produce and even direct. Like on the TV show, I was the de facto director as well. It was part of the job of being a producer on this traveling reality show. And then I came back and edited on the show as a producer. And so I really over indexed on the craft side. And what I came to realize after, 8 or 9 years working in that business was that that doesn't lead to anything. Like if you
Well,
don't have any business chops, if you're not doing the business side of things,
mhm.
might be really, really good at this thing you're really, really passionate about, but that doesn't directly translate to value in a marketplace.
There's
So
a whole entrepreneurial aspect to it, and
yeah,
if you're doing jobs for other people, the editing and all that other stuff you just mentioned.
exactly. So the way that showed up in my business, for example, is we would drum up a bunch of business. I remember one year in the month of January, I drummed up like $150,000 worth of business. And then we started doing all those projects and, making commercial projects, making videos for Kickstarter things, making videos for talking heads and interviews and all these things. And then we got to like March or April, half of the business that we lined up didn't actually come to fruition. And then it was, April or May, and we had done all the projects that we'd lined up, and we had $0 lined up because we just finished doing all the work on those previous projects. And I remember thinking, this is not a good system. Like,
Yeah.
this is not sustainable. It's not profitable.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
repeatable. There's no system here at all. It's just reactionary. And so I see that all over the place. Everyone who is working in film is a business owner, whether they realize it or not.
Exactly.
You're an actor, you own a business that provides the service of your face and body and mouth and your voice on screen. Like that's what the business provides. And if you are an editor, you provide editing services. If you're a cinematographer, you provide cinematography services, right? Every single one of us is a business owner. And for those that are struggling to pay the bills, this isn't, I mean, it's just reality, I think. So it's not an accusation. It's just like telling it how it is. There's probably a business issue that's going on there. If you're really talented, if you're good, if people like working with you on set, and then you find yourself without work half of the year, yes, there's some problems with the industry, but that means you haven't done enough to take responsibility for the business because you're expecting other people to bring business to you, but you haven't done the work to earn that yet. And so it really comes down to one of a handful of business things that I since have identified and codified into frameworks and books and programs and all these things, retreats that I do, because I just want people to understand you're responsible for it. You're the business owner, whether you realize it or not, whether you're officially incorporated, you are a business owner. And if you want more business, more revenue, more profit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, better clients, bigger projects, those are all business things that are very much within your realm of possibility, within your wheelhouse, within your sphere of influence, however you want to say it. And if you take responsibility for it, that's when things start to change for the better.
I love it. That applies to so many businesses, and it's a message that is so sorely needed to hear. It's sort of tough love, because people like to blame in general, so they don't want to hear it's up to you because then it puts that onus of responsibility on them. But I just think it's really important. I couldn't agree more. I've heard you refer to flywheels in your content. Could you please define what that is and how it can help a producer grow and progress over time?
Yes, I'm glad you brought up this topic. And so I've been talking about flywheels for a long time. I read a book, really a monograph is what he called it, by Jim Collins about flywheels. He's the first person that I read anything about the idea of a flywheel. Probably in his book, Good to Great, is the one I think he originally talks about it. But this is years and years ago. So probably 7 or 8 years that I've been thinking in terms of flywheels. And a flywheel, the word flywheel is maybe a substitute for the word system. And so I like comparing flywheels and funnels because a lot of people talk about in the marketing space, for example, you need
Hmm.
your marketing funnel. And if you dump enough people at the top of that funnel and they go from being aware that your business exists to being a prospect to being a lead to getting on a call to doing a sales pitch to sending over the agreement and then finally sending the money, it's just a numbers game. All you have to do is dump enough people at the top and
Right.
they get
Right.
squeezed through this funnel and then squirted out the other end. And now you've got some clients or customers. And I try to use that sort of language because that's what it feels like to be in a funnel. If you've ever entered one of these like ClickFunnels websites where it's
Oh,
like
yes.
go.something.com. And
Hmm.
yes, I'm calling out ClickFunnels a little bit because I don't like the model. Like it's icky to be a part of it. So you click on a link and all of a sudden it's like, get this thing for free. Great. You put in your email, you click that thing. Now you got 6 emails waiting for you in your inbox that you didn't even know that you were signing up for. You click
Yes.
the next page. But wait, if you just right
Yeah.
now click this thing, it's 90% off. You click no thanks. The next page. Wait, it's 99% off. I just lied to
Yeah.
you. And it's a never-ending funnel of click, click, click,
Yeah.
buy, 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 buy. And then you go to your email, and now there's 20 emails sitting in your inbox, and every one of them is trying to sell you something. And that's the funnel approach of if I just dump enough people at the top, doesn't matter who they are, if they're breathing and can click on their mouse, they're in my funnel. And I have friends who have made 7 figures from that approach, and more power to them. But they're not happy with the way that their business is going because as soon as they turn off the thing that is dumping people at the top of that funnel, it all goes away because there's
Mhm.
no trust, there's no affinity, there's no audience, there's no engagement. It's just funnel. So compare that to a flywheel, and a flywheel is this elegant system that, yes, it takes a ton more energy to get set up. Like you can set up a funnel in a day. A flywheel takes more time. It might be weeks, it might be months to get your first turn of this flywheel. And so imagine just like a big, massive stone or metal circle that's like vertically mounted to a wall or to a dam or something like that. And the idea of like, I'm going to take this behemoth machinery and get it to spin over and over and over and over again by myself with my own muscles pushing on it. Yeah, it's going to take a lot of time. Like even to get it to budge the first inch is
Hmm.
Herculean effort. But
Hmm.
you show up and you keep pushing and you show up and now it's moved a foot and you keep pushing and you keep building and you keep figuring out how to get this thing to move. And now it's moved half a turn or almost a turn. And after days or weeks or months, the first turn of this cycle happens. And I qualify that as like maybe you get a gig, maybe you get a client or a customer or a sale. So that's the first turn of that flywheel. Well, if you stopped pushing, that flywheel would keep spinning at least for a little while because it's got all this momentum that it's built up and it's going to keep spinning. So you probably, even if you stopped after one turn, because the flywheel has this momentum, it'll probably turn 2 or 3 more times before it, grinds to a halt. But the nice thing about flywheels is it gets easier with each rotation. It spits off more of the outcome that you're looking for at a greater degree. And so all of a sudden, if you keep that momentum going, if you keep feeding that system, the flywheel, it doesn't just stop if you stop pushing it. It actually gets easier with each rotation. And So what that looks like is instead of a funnel of I'm going to, buy a list or comment on some guy's Instagram or LinkedIn post saying, I have a list of 200 investors, comment investor and I'll send it to you. And then dumping all of them into an email list and then blasting them with emails that they didn't sign up for, which actually isn't even legal, and hoping that one or two investors spit out the other end. Well, that's a funnel. That's a bad system. If instead you build a flywheel where every day you're going to reach out to and connect with five new people that you've never met before and let them know you exist. And here's why you might want to have a conversation with me. And I'd love to show you what I'm working on. Every day you're building that flywheel, you're building momentum on that flywheel. And you don't know if it's going to be tomorrow or 5 months from now where one of those people you reached out to replies and takes the next step and then the next step and then the next step. And all of a sudden, you've got all this momentum. You've got 100 or 200 investors in various stages of this flywheel, of the turn of the flywheel, and they're able to go at their own pace. They're not being forced through a funnel, they're not being squeezed on a page or anything like that. They're just, you follow up with them when it feels like it's time, or it's been a few weeks and you haven't heard from them, you check in again, or whatever it is. And then all of a sudden, that first turn happens, and you get your first investor, and you're like, oh my gosh, it worked. And then without a lot more effort, two or three more investors come through. And then you go, wow, I wonder if instead of doing one-on-one outreach, what if I invited 100 investors to an event? Well, okay, what is going to happen? Well, now you got 60 people in front of you that you're able to meet in 2 hours as opposed to, 60 divided by five, divided by how long does it take to reach out to people, et cetera, et cetera. And now the wheel's spinning even faster. I'm doing this with my hand because you can't see me because it was his audio
Yes.
only, but like his speed has picked up. And
Sure.
all of a sudden, so I'm sitting here on the exact flywheel that I have just described, the investor flywheel. And, people that I met for the first time in January at an event that I hosted where I invited them to come and hear what I have to say about Producer Fund One are now 6, 8 months later having conversations for the first time. Oh, I'm so sorry we never chatted. I was in a busy season. I was selling my business. I was doing whatever. I'd love to chat. Great. Let's chat. And
Hmm.
that's the flywheel effect in motion. So that was a lot of words, but I hope that helps
No, it's
people.
fascinating. And in the meantime, you're staying top of mind because you're all over LinkedIn. So,
Hmm. Yeah.
and you're collecting emails, I assume. Is there an email list in there that,
Oh, absolutely. The email
yeah,
list is the thing. People see me on LinkedIn and they go, you're so prolific and you're there every day and you're spitting out value. And I'm like, well, I've been writing stuff on the internet for over 10 years. Like, I'm good at it. Like, it's not
yes,
hard
you
for me
are.
to write 50 words or 500 words or 5,000 words. Like, you tell me what you need to do and I can do it. So I probably over indexed on that over the last 10 years as opposed to actually being good at marketing and stuff. But everything drives to the email list. So most, if not all of my posts have a link to something on my website that
Yes,
takes them over to my website.
yes,
And I don't care if that limits reach. I don't care if that limits virality. Those are not the things that I'm optimizing for. Yes, I have a lot of followers that I've gained over the last year. I don't care. Like, that is not the metric that I'm measuring. I do pay attention to how much impressions I'm getting and how many followers I have because I want to see growth week over week. But if it goes down, I don't care. And I don't really change anything unless it's like a couple of weeks in a row where it's like, oh, what's going on? But the things I make sure that I do, I post every day. I comment on a couple of people's posts that I know will get me exposure. For example, if I send out a post, I might get 2 or 3 thousand impressions. If I leave a comment on someone who has 50,000 followers and I'm one of the earliest people to leave a comment, that comment alone can get 1,500 or 2,000 impressions and followers and people clicking on my profile, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just good strategy. It's part of the flywheel. But everything is about getting people off the platform that I don't own because I don't own their email address, their access to them. I can't guarantee that if I post something, they will see it.
hmm,
I do everything I can to get people off the platform onto a platform that I own, which is my email list. So every page of my website has a capture form. There's links at the top, there's links at the bottom, there's a pop-up there. Like, it is built to capture email addresses. And then I've
hmm.
got the entire flywheel that's part of this, which is the email automation sequences and
Oh,
everything
sure.
that happens.
Yep.
People are coming in and I don't need to do anything, but I know that
Nope.
my email system is going to separate them into,
Yeah,
okay,
because you have that little 3 or 4 question thing right
yeah,
on your
we have
website
a
that
survey that
puts
happens
them.
when they join. So now they get diverted into the lane of an investor
Yeah,
or a filmmaker or a film fan. And an investor is not going to get pitched by my book. They're going to
right, right, right.
pitch for them is we need to talk about my fund. When can we talk? But
That's
for
so
the film
smart.
fan, read my book
Mhm.
or check out my podcast or get a whole bunch of free content because I don't have anything to sell a film fan yet. I mean, I have movies, but
Yeah.
that's not really what my site is for right now because those are movies that are owned by other companies, So anyway,
Can
the
I just ask a little technical question in here? I'm
yes,
curious what
please.
CRM you're using to
I love
get those.
nerding out on email stuff.
Yeah, what what CRM are you using to generate those emails
I
and do all
use
that automation? What is it?
use Kit. It used to be called ConvertKit. If you go to kitforcreators.com, that's a great place to get started because I think that's got my link kind of embedded in it, and you'll
Okay.
get like an extended free trial or something like that. But I have been using ConvertKit/Kit since 2013. I'm one of the either the longest or second longest continuous user of this app. And I'm
Yeah.
friends with the CEO, Nathan Barry. I was on his show a few months ago talking about flywheels. And I love, love, love it. It's the only platform I recommend to any type of creator because the platform is built for creators. It's not an e-commerce thing. It's not MailChimp. It's not Infusionsoft or Keep or any of these big like enterprise systems that all those A cost too much and B aren't built for you. So go use Kit and tell them I sent you.
Uh, I will. Let's see. So you have an upcoming Craftsman Films retreat at the Sundance Resort. We'll, of course, put a link to this in the show notes, even though it may be past when somebody might be listening to this. But tell us more about the retreat. What is it? What is it not? Who's attending? And anything else you want to tell us. And also, I just want to let you know that I seriously considered attending, but my husband and I will be on a long planned trip through Spain with friends.
Oh, well, that sounds almost as fun as the retreat. That's going to be amazing.
It'll
And I
be good.
appreciate
Yeah.
you kind of signal boosting it today. So,
Sure.
yes, the retreat is something that I wish existed 15 years ago when I was starting as a producer because it would have made my journey to being a producer or producing my first movie a lot shorter than the 12 years it took. So, really, it came out of this flywheel. As I was growing an audience, as I was posting, as I was connecting with more filmmakers, I was getting questions about like coaching and consulting and do you do any in-person things and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And a few months ago, maybe 2 months ago, I just put out a link in my email. Again, the email is the center of everything, but I put out a simple link. I said, hey, I'm thinking about doing something like this. Click here, answer a few questions, let me know what you think.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no buy button, there was no dates or location or
It was
anything.
just like to express interest, basically.
An expression of interest for him. And I built a little survey that said, tell me what you would want from something like this. 2 days,
Mm-hmm.
3 days, weekend or weekday. Would you want to travel or would you want a logo? Like I just asked 8 or 10 seemingly random questions, but it was all research.
Sure.
And I sent that link out and like, I don't know, 80 or 90 people clicked on it and 50 people took the survey, completed the survey. I was like, oh, that's enough interest for me to actually move forward with this. Because if 4 people clicked on it, I'd have been like, oh, there's no
Right.
interest.
Right.
I'm not going to invest the time and money that it's going to take.
How many people are on your list?
There's on the full list, there's about 27 or 2,800 people
Okay.
that
That's
get like
segmented.
film related content. Yeah. And segmented, there's probably 250 or 300 investors, and the rest are filmmakers or people that were previously on my list from like my previous creator businesses. So I've
Yeah.
done courses in the past, I've done community in the past, I've done a whole bunch of creator type things. And so I've built a list over 10 years to do 12 years to do that. But the retreat really from there, let me continue with the story because it's interesting for people who are thinking about building a flywheel is okay, well, then I went through and one of the questions was, how much would it cost? Like, would it need to cost to be worth your while and why? And I got a lot of feedback. And most people said around $2,000. A couple people said over 3,000 if there was a good guest or if there was good networking or if like there was a qualification
Sure.
for it. I said,
Sure.
great. And so from there, out of those 50 people that took the survey, is about 2 weeks later, I sent out another email and just a one sentence with a link as part of my longer email. And I said, hey, I think I'm going to do this thing, but I need to know that there's actual interest. So if you want to reserve a spot in line to buy a ticket, once all the details are solidified, go and leave $100 deposit here. Because I'm a firm
Oh,
believer that like someone
super
saying, yeah,
smart.
I would do that is very
No, they
different.
have skin in the game for sure.
And I just kept it super low and they could get it refunded if I didn't do the retreat. But like 9 people put $100 down. It's like, great. That covers, I worked with this company called Team Out because they help schedule and work on retreats. And I was
Okay.
just like, I don't have time for this. I'm raising money right now. But if there's a company that can do 90% of the lifting, that's pretty smart. And it was like $250 to work with them.
Wow.
So the deposits paid for the Team Out,
Yeah.
right? And then I said, look, I only have interest in one location. It's Sundance Mountain Resort. There's a lot of film history there. It's also
Sure.
30 minutes from my house. Like
Okay. Yeah.
I know the rooms that I want to be in. I know how much it costs. Like I just know it's going to work. And so we got the only 3 days that were remaining in the month of September, September
Meant
8th.
to be. Meant to be.
And so I instantly went back to those 9 people who put a deposit down. I said, I'm giving you a week. And after that, I'm going to open it up to my full list. And I had between that group and the first week of opening it up to the full list, I sold 9 of the 12 spots
Hmm.
in a week. And so, and this is something that's $27.95. Like it's not super cheap. And they have to fly themselves to Utah, but everything else is included. But it's 3 days of programming around how do you build a long-term, sustainable, profitable career as an indie film producer. And it's the exact content that I wish I had 20 years ago, 15 years ago when I was getting started in this business. And, it's a lot of content from my recent book. It's content from my experience being a producer of 4 films and 4 seasons of television and hundreds of other videos, and all compressed into 3 days. And it's really meant to not just, fill your brain with so much information that you can't even think straight when you leave. That may
Right.
happen for some people, but there's 5 sessions that we're doing, everything from, your vision, mission, and like how to select projects as a producer, fundraising, audience and marketing, long-term sustainability as a producer, and then my movie framework, my 5-part movie framework that I talked about in my book. And so it's only 5 sessions over the 3 days, but there's a lot of time to get outside. And that's why I wanted to do it at Sundance. You need to
Yeah.
process,
Totally.
have one-on-one conversations with me,
Mhm.
with attendees, to process, to think, to journal, to hop into a hot spring and just decompress for a little while. Like there's time. And the thing I love about retreats is that you're getting out of your normal day to day.
Yes.
You don't have the constant pressure of kids getting to and from school and whatever
Yes.
on Tuesday nights with your girls group or whatever it is. It's just you and a single focus for 3 days. And you can make a lot of progress if it's a guided thing, if there's programming that's structured and works. Like I've already run this content through communities and workshops and online webinars and things like that. So I know the content works and I know how good I am one-on-one with people. And so it's kind of a no-brainer that like, yes, you're going to get a lot of value from this, but beyond the value you're going to get from me, just being in a different place will unlock a whole lot for people as well. So there's a lot of words around what the retreat is and why we're doing it.
Well, do you think you'll do more like this? I know it
Mm.
hasn't even happened yet, but
No, I do think I already have people that are asking about, well, what about writers or what about directors, And so
mm,
I could really see this isn't a promise, but it's pretty close to that. Like I could see this becoming part of what Craftsman Films does and hosting a producer retreat every year, a director retreat every year, and a writer's retreat every year, and bringing in special guests. I mean, I've written half a dozen screenplays myself. I've done a lot of work, probably a master's degree amount of work around story and script writing and structure and those things. But I'm not a director. And so I'd have my friend Garrett and some other directors come in and help
yeah.
program for that. But as far as everything when it comes to your creative career, whether you're a writer, director, producer, that's what I would be talking about at those retreats. And so this first one is the beta test, so to speak,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
I already know it will work. And I'm very excited for it to play out. And I'm excited for the responses and the changes and the transformations that'll happen for those that are attending. And I can
No, it's
definitely
going to be life-changing. It could be life-changing.
that's the goal. Yeah. If it's not transformational, then what's the point?
Exactly.
My take on life, I think.
Exactly. Anyone paying attention knows the turmoil the studios have been in the last few years, which you mentioned earlier, with the mergers, layoffs, strikes, et cetera, et cetera. The list goes on. Can you talk about how important it is for a producer to be truly independent, and what does that look like exactly?
It's paramount. That's a play on words for those because you mentioned
Oh,
the
yes, I see what you did there.
it is paramount. It's the most important thing I think you can do for yourself and your career and your future is to make the decision to become truly independent. And what that means is taking responsibility for every aspect of the process that you possibly can. And a lot of filmmakers will respond and say, well, I'm just an actor. Well, I'm just a writer. I don't direct. I don't do the fundraising. I don't do the distribution. I don't do any of that stuff. I just
Mhm.
show up and act. I just write screenplays. That's all I want to do. Okay, but I did that for 12 years and didn't get anything produced because I was just writing screenplays or I was just the producer. My business partner was just the director. And so, what being truly independent means is realizing that you are the producer until a different one gets hired. So, if you are an actor, let's use that one because that's the question I get the most when I do these
Yeah,
presentations or talks at like film festivals is the actors come up and go, "What about me? I'm
yeah,
special and I'm different." I'm like, "Nope, you're not."
yep.
Because you're an actor, but you're not special. You are the same. You are a business owner and you are responsible for getting business. It's not the industry's job to create work for you. That's just not
Hmm.
how it works. And so, if we talk about what does it mean to take responsibility for everything and be the producer, it means that if you're an actor and you want to be acting and you're not acting as much as you'd like to be acting, then you start projects. You
Hmm.
do projects. You are the one who
Hmm.
then says, I would love to act in a noir detective story. So I'm going to call a writer friend and say, hey, do you have a noir detective story? No, I don't. Do you know anyone who does? No, I don't. Do you want to write one? Yeah, that would be fun. Can we just do like a short? Yeah, give me an 8 to 10 page noir detective story. You'll be the sole writer on it. And I'm producing for now, but I'm going to help bring everybody together and we're going to make this thing. And then you call directors and you say, have you ever done a noir detective before? No, but I've always wanted to. Great. If you will partner with us, I'm not paying myself. The writer's doing it on spec. You're going to do it on spec, but it's going to be this great project for all of us. Are you in? Yes, absolutely. I've always wanted to figure out how to shoot a noir because I've never done it as a director. It'll be really helpful. Great. Do you have a cinematographer you like? Yeah, let me call my buddy Ben. Okay, great. Ben's in. He's bringing his camera, he's bringing his lenses. We're good to go. Okay, great. Who's a gaffer that we need? Who's this? Who's this? Like all of a sudden, you've just done the job of a producer. Your first job is to assemble the crew if you're not raising money, right? And so I would say start with stuff that's free. Like get your producing chops without the burden of raising money and spending money.
Yeah.
So get 5 or 10 people together for 1 or 2 days for a
Feed
short
them.
film.
Feed them. Yeah.
Buy some pizza. Everybody chips
Mhm.
in $20 to be a part of the project, and there's your food budget. And all of a sudden, you're making something. And now
Yeah.
you're acting, and you could do that every month. You could do that every quarter. I met a kid I was doing a guest presentation, guest lecture at Utah Valley University, UVU, for their film program. And I was asking people, like, what have they done? What kind of projects? And one kid was a junior in college and had worked on 58 short films.
Wow.
58. So
Wow.
if he can do it, you can't.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to do 58. You probably only need to do 2 or 3. And then you're going to be like, oh, I got this. I'm going to go raise some money to do a real thing. But go and produce the next project you want to work on and make it exactly the thing you want to work on and find the people who are passionate about doing the same thing and have fun for 2 or 3 days. And then you're going to call an editor and a sound designer and a composer and say, can I use your song or can you write music for this? And you find people that are at the same point in their career as you are, which is I have more capacity than I have demand. This is some of the business stuff we talk about.
Hmm.
If you are not oversubscribed, then your number one goal is to get oversubscribed, meaning
Hmm.
there's more demand for your time than you have capacity.
Yep.
So if you're an actor, you can only be on one set at a time, at least for now, until AI takes all our
Right.
jobs. So if you're an actor, how many days a month can you be on set? It's not 30 because you wouldn't have any time to audition, to sleep, to recover, to do
Hmm.
fittings, to do read-throughs, anything, right? So how many days can you be paid to be on set? Let's call it 10 days would be a full-time, like that's your capacity. Well, if you're only getting hired 1 day a month, then you are the inverse of that, right? You have more capacity, you have
Yeah.
10, and the demand for your time is 1. So you want to flip that. You want it to be that demand is 100 and your capacity is 10. Well, until you have that reality, go and fill your calendar with more days on set that you are creating because you're producing projects. That's the goal there. So same thing if you're an editor or a musician or a composer or a director or whatever it is. You are the producer until a producer is hired to replace that part of the job that you don't want to do. And at that point, the producer says, great, I got this, and we're going to go. And it'll probably go faster, and it'll probably be easier, and it'll be great. But until that point, you can either keep waiting for your capacity to magically be filled, or you can go fill it yourself. And guess what happens? I'll end on this thought, and then we can dive in more if you want to. But like, if you show, because you're posting content every day, for example, that you are working a lot, that you're every day you're posting a picture from set, all of a sudden everybody goes, oh, Margot is killing it. Like everybody, she's working all the time. I see her pictures every day from a different set, a different location, a different crew, different cameras, whatever, different outfit. Wow, she's really in demand. Well, now I'm thinking the subtext here is if she's really in demand by all these other people who keep hiring her, well, that means that I should probably hire her because she's good, because she's on set 10 days or 30 days a month, right? Literally what happened to me and how I got the movie The Carpenter. I was posting a picture from set every single day on the movie Give Me Your Eyes. It was a 20-day shoot, and every day of pre-production and every day of production, I took a black and white picture, not spotlighting me. Like there's maybe one picture of me because I don't, who wants to see me in my selfie face or whatever? But I'm like, here's an actor and here's a camera and here's 30 people standing outside freezing their butts off in 3-degree weather in the mountains of Provo, Utah in February. But they're all smiles. Man, Daren is a good producer. Look at all those space heaters that he got the crew. Look at all these smiling, happy people. Look at that big camera. Look at that big boom arm. Look at that big light. Like whatever it is. I'm going, this is me producing stuff every day. I am a producer. And when we wrapped that project, no less than like a week later, Garrett Batty, who I'd known for over 10 years at that point, but we'd never worked together, Garrett calls me and says, hey, man, you've been doing a lot of producing lately. Yes, I have. You know, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. The flywheel was working here. And all of a sudden he says, well, hey, I've got a project and I'd love to know if you, and I said, yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was. I didn't know where it was going to be. I didn't know what the budget was. I didn't care. I just knew I wanted to work with Garrett.
Yeah.
And he knew that I was in demand. And that's a good partnership. And turned out to be The Carpenter, where we went and filmed in Cape Town, South Africa for 2 months. It was amazing. And so if you are an actor, a writer, an editor, a director, it doesn't matter. Create opportunities to do the thing that you want to be hired for until you have enough people calling you to where the capacity and the demand shifts and all of a sudden you're oversubscribed. At that point, just keep doing the same thing. Post a picture of yourself doing the work every day and more people will call and you'll stay oversubscribed.
I love it. I love it that you've figured this all out. How can one get a copy of your book?
Just ask me. Just ask me for one. No, the easiest way is to just join my email list. So what happens if you go to craftsmanfilms.co/join is put in, answer 2 or 3 questions. There's a quick survey that happens right at the beginning because I want to know what content to send you. I've got hundreds of blog posts from the last 10 years that I could send you, but I want to send you the right stuff. So you put in your email address and your name, and then you answer 3 questions. And then the first email that gets sent to you is, hey, here's a way to read my book for free on the internet. So there's a copy on a site called WriteBooks. It's a great app. You can't like find my book or search for it or anything. It's a self.
Yeah, I tried.
I know. I self-distribute the same reason that I'm an independent film producer. I want the direct relationship with the audience. So you can't find my book on Amazon or bookstores or Kindle. It has to go through me because I want to give you a better deal than sometimes the other companies will charge, but I also want the direct relationship with you. So if you sign up for my email list, I will send you a link to be able to read the book online for free. I want everybody to be able to read it if that's what they are looking to do. And then if you want to have a physical copy, if you want a hardback or a paperback or a digital version that you can load into your Kindle or your iBooks or whatever, that's also available for a price because it costs money to print books. And so
yes.
And so it works really nicely. I get email addresses. I don't sell lots of books, but that's okay. That's not the point. I actually
Exactly.
send out, I have a box of 40 books sitting right next to me because every few months I order a box and then I send copies to people who I feel like I want to have a connection with. So I
Yeah.
use it as a tool to start conversations because, how many people are getting a free book in their physical mailbox, every day?
Not
That
not
just doesn't
many,
happen.
not many. No,
But
I mean you could teach a master class in marketing, really. So much of what you're saying could apply to any business. It's really impressive that you've built it yourself without, to my knowledge, a marketing background, other than just instinctually kind of figuring it
definitely,
out.
definitely have invested a lot of time and money into learning how to do marketing. And I would not say that I'm, master class level, but I've built 4 6-figure businesses. I've gotten to a point in my producing career that it's sustainable. Like I've
Yep.
figured enough out to make
Yep.
those work. I feel like I'm definitely better at helping other people do marketing for their businesses than I am for my own, but I'm getting better.
Gosh, I just have so many questions I'd love to ask you. Let's talk
Um,
about your producer fund one. It's 10 million for 10 films in 4 years. First of all, is the fund still open?
Yeah, we're still raising. I have until January to raise the full amount. And this is a new model for investing in indie film. It's really the problems that I'm solving are two or threefold. The first is a lot of investors have been burned investing in indie film because they invested in bad structure. They may have invested in a good film, but they invested in a bad structure
Hmm.
got taken advantage of because they didn't know any better. And so they lost money on a good movie. And it
Hmm.
doesn't make any sense to them because they went to the premiere and it was sold out and their wife and kids were there and they thought it was a good movie. And so why am I not getting paychecks? Well, because the movie didn't make any money because it was a bad structure. And so it's fixing the structure, spreading the risk of a single investment across 10 films, which diversifies their investment and gives them 10 at bats. So we've covered the downside so that they can't lose all their money. Like that's not really possible with this structure. And we're giving them 10 at bats to make their money back. Ideally, all of them will break even and be profitable. And then we'll have one or two that really have an outsized result in 5 or 10x. And then everybody's really, really happy with their investment. So that's the first problem we're solving. The second is the problem that I was seeing after each movie is the crew would come up and say, I loved working on this movie. This was a really amazing experience. When's the next one? And the answer was always, I don't know, because I was working on this movie the last 3 months, just like you. I haven't had time to line up the next thing. So I'm
Yeah, yeah,
going to go
yeah.
home and open my email inbox and hope that there's an executive producer or a director that's ready with the next project. Luckily, with Garrett, these last 2 movies, they were back to back. We went from The Carpenter and then a year later we were doing Faith of Angels and he's getting his next one lined up. And so like it's nice to have that relationship, but there's no guarantee there and you don't know if it's going to be a month or a year in between projects.
Sure.
And so my thought was, okay, well, how do I solve that problem? How do I make it so that the people that are in my sphere of influence that are here in Utah or wherever I'm going to film the next movie, how can I keep them working? And so the goal isn't to make 10 movies in Utah, but the goal is to start building a team over these 10 movies to where by the end we've got 8 or 12 people working at Craftsman Films full time. And we've got a handful of people that we know that we can trust that are going to make good movies consistently.
Hmm.
And that's going to keep people working. So if we say, look,
Hmm.
we just wrapped on this one, the next one is already in development and we start pre-production in 2 months or 1 month. So take the month off because you've been paid well and you know that you've got work, just go take a break. Go take a
Hmm.
like go travel for a week or whatever. Like go to sleep at 6 o'clock because you've never been able to do that. Like, you
Right.
know, go enjoy your life for a little bit. So that's the second thing. And the third problem that I'm trying to solve with this is the audience problem. There is a big audience for family friendly movies. The biggest movies of the last few years are Disney Pixar, like Inside Out 2 and Moana
Yep.
and
There's a
Minecraft.
huge
Like,
demand. Yep.
there's yes, every year there's maybe one movie that's rated R that goes and does $1 billion, but most of the $1 billion box offices came from families of five going to the movies. And so because a mom or a grandma is going to buy 5 or 10 tickets for their family and they're all going to go. So one buyer equals 10 times or 5 times what you would get from a rated R, Deadpool versus Wolverine, which is just you and your friend or you by yourself. So it
Excellent
all
point.
makes
Yeah.
sense from a business standpoint, but a lot of people don't see it that way. And so we're still getting way more R-rated horror films than the market has demand for.
I've heard that the horror films are really profitable.
There have
I
been over the last year or two that have been very profitable, which is awesome. But if you listen to Jason Blum talk about the industry, and he's almost exclusively does horror films, he says the audience demand is about one a month. 10 to 12 horror movies a year is what they can handle. And beyond that, there's kind of a cap of like how much the
Interesting.
horror genre makes every year. And
Interesting.
this year, I
Okay.
think there's 29 or 35 slated releases for R-rated horror films. And so
Hmm.
we're going to see if that's an
Yep. It's
oversupplying of the market or not. But
right.
according to Jason Blum, beyond 10 or 12, there's no demand for it. So we'll see. But what I'm seeing is that the only people serving family audiences are the Disney, Pixar's, Illumination, DreamWorks, like the animated movies are 80 to 90% of the offering to this audience. And when I go to theaters and I talk to, because I'm a nerd and I talk to people at the end of whatever family movie that I just took my boys to, I'm asking people like, hey, what else have you seen this year? And they're like, oh gosh, it's just another, it's the fifth one of these or the third one of these. It's all sequels and it's all animated stuff. And like some of them are good and most of them are the same and kind of getting tired of it. I'm just sitting here like, okay, well, what are some of your favorite movies? And they all say the same thing. It's like Princess Bride or The Sandlot or Back to the Future. You know, some of those are indies, some of those are studio movies. It doesn't really matter. But like the fact that we're just not making live action, family friendly, fun adventure movies that spark conversation, that make you feel good, like let's make more of those. So I think it's an underserved market, and we're going to make exclusively those types of movies. And the way that we solve the problem is we build a brand that this audience then goes, oh, those are the guys that make these kind of movies that we like to go to.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they saw, or it doesn't matter if it's an original movie. It just matters that, oh, this is a Craftsman Films project. This is
Hmm.
one of those. Oh, I love those. The last one I saw was so good. And I took my whole family to it. We watched it 3 times and we bought the DVD. So we're going to build that brand affinity over 10 movies by serving the same audience over 10 films instead of, oh, this one's a horror and this one's a drama and this one's an animated and this one's a foreign film.
Yep.
There's no audience there.
You're
So,
niching down. Niching down is what we
but I
call it.
think that niche, I mean, it's proven that
Yeah, for sure.
if Pixar can make $1 billion on Inside Out 2, that's 100 million people worldwide that are interested in that type of movie. I don't need 100 million. If I had a million people go and see
Mm-hmm.
my movies, that's a $10 million box office, which is a 10x on what we spent on the movie. And that's
Hmm.
just theatrical. So that's why the model works. We don't have to hit a billion people or 100 million people to be profitable. We need a million. And that's 10x profitable. So it's really 100,000. And, you know, I'm a percentage of the way there just on my own. Imagine what happens when we have a marketing team and we're putting money behind every single movie and getting more and more people on our email list. Like, it's not going to be hard to get 100,000 and then a million people on an email list over the next couple of years. And then
Hmm.
every movie is a 10 million minimum box office. That's the plan.
Wow, that's certainly inspiring. How does Craftsman Film source the IP? Is it your own projects?
Currently, I've got 5 or 6 that are like in the queue. I
Huh?
have a proprietary green light scorecard. So I run every project through a series of checks to make sure that like it's the right alignment.
Even your own stuff?
I mean, my own stuff kind of informed the checklist, so it's pretty easy to pass it with my own stuff. But there's also a green light committee. So there's a team of people that I will be putting together that are trusted industry folks that know what a good story looks like
Yeah.
and knows how to create a good story. And so every movie will have to go through that green light committee, and that includes the investors that are on the fund, that are committed to the fund. Like they will have a say. They'll be able to vote yay or nay with their
Okay.
thumbs to be able to say, ah, this really doesn't fit, or yes, this sounds great. And I'm looking more for consensus than a certain like number or metric. But obviously, if half the people are saying, please don't make this, I'm not going to make it. Like, that's not the goal here. So
Yeah.
I've got half a dozen projects in various stages of development. Some are script stage with writer director attached. Others are at logline stage with, you know, some ideal partners that I would want to work with. But we're aiming to do 3 movies a year. And so that's kind of the cadence that we're looking for. And I'm requiring that every movie has at least 3 months, if not 6 months, of development. So even if the script is done, I want to make the movie in development. I want to do an animatic or an AI generated version or a read through or something that we
Hmm.
can sit down and watch and go, yeah, this works. So
Hmm.
that's part of the process of development, but it's also, can we give ourselves more time to get the right team in place? Because what I see over and over on indie films is as soon as the money hits the bank account, you're in pre-production. And
Yeah.
so you're hiring and you're location scouting and you're designing and everything is greenlit. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Like you just called through your top three production designers and they're all working for the next 3 months. They said no. Why not just wait? Like, why are we rushing in right now? And
Hmm.
same thing with actors. I've seen it time and time again on movies where they go out to their ideal actor and they're like, I love this project, but I'm booked for the next 4 months. Or I love this project, but I'm busy that time that you're planning on filming. And so if we stretch the timeline a little bit, if we give ourselves 3 to 6 months to start,
Yep.
but we can have the conversations now of like, hey, we're greenlit and we're starting 3 months from now or 6 months from now. That's a much easier conversation because they're probably not booked out 6 months unless you're talking to A-list actors who are booked out
That
to.
makes total sense. It seems like a no-brainer for sure. It gives yourself some breathing space too.
The reason it doesn't happen though is because it takes money to be in development. It takes, like, if you're going to be earning a paycheck from this movie for 3 or 6 months at 5 to 10 grand a month as a producer or a director or whatever it is, well, where's that money coming from? Because you just raised barely enough to get through production, let alone post-production, let alone marketing, let alone development. That's the last thought. So part of the plan is just going, okay, if it's $1 million production budget, we probably need 2.5 million to do it properly. That includes 500 to 750K for marketing. It includes
Sure.
100,000 for development. It includes 50,000 that goes to making a short film with a completely different team of people, but using the keys from this feature film as mentors. So we're
Hmm.
developing the up and coming talent and giving them opportunities to be on set with real experienced people. But that's extra money that has to be raised. And a lot of producers just don't see it that way. They go, let me see how much I can eke out of extract from the marketplace. And maybe the movie needs 1.5 million, but I only got 950. Well, we'll make it for 950. Let's go.
Oh
And then
yeah, I
there
see that all the time too. Sure.
happens all the time. So again, this goes back to the mindset piece as a producer is going, okay, well, what does the movie actually deserve? It deserves 6 months of development. It deserves the proper amount of time and proper amount of budget for the production. It deserves a solid post-production budget, and it deserves at least 50% of the production budget for marketing.
Most
Like
of all, yeah, most of all.
minimum is what I'm targeting
Hmm.
every movie. How are you going to spend 1 million on the budget on the movie, plus development, plus management fees for the fund, plus 500K of marketing? Now you're pushing 1.8, $1.7 million. I was like, yeah, the equity is not 100% of the budget. The equity is only 40 to 50% of the budget. So you've got
Hmm.
tax credits, you've got minimum guarantees, you've
Hmm.
got pre-sales, you've got
Yep.
sponsors, you've got donors, you've got a lot of other ways to bring money in that doesn't just have to be equity.
I saw all those numbers and the formulas on your website. It's very well laid out. I have to hand
Yeah.
it to you.
So you really have to just start thinking from a business sense of like, okay, if you're raising money for your business, well, you can raise money from your customers through pre-sales. That's called Kickstarter. You can raise money from equity. That's like angel investors. You can raise money from grants. You can raise money from business lines of credit. You can raise money from tax incentive. Like if you can do
Yep.
it in a business, well, guess what? A film is a business. And so you can do
Hmm.
all the same structures and same strategies and make it a better structure for everyone involved. Because guess what? It's way easier for a production designer to get paid what they're worth and have enough time to do their job and enjoy the process at 1.5 million than it is at 500K. And
Right,
so
right, right.
you're
Well,
making
everything just works
everybody's job
smoother.
easier.
Yeah,
You're making everyone's
exactly.
job easier, and you're making it more likely that you'll be profitable for the investors by spending more time in development,
Hmm.
giving the proper amount of time and budget to production, and having a proper marketing budget up front. Because the thing that bothers me the most about the funding side of this business is that your earliest investors, the ones who trusted you the most, that gave you $1 million off of a pitch deck and an idea,
Hmm.
are being pushed to second or third or fourth position
Yeah,
on the returns of the film. Like that
yeah.
has always rubbed me the wrong way. And I don't know how it happened. I don't know why we continue to do it to ourselves because that's why they get burned. Because they're going, wait a minute, the film made $3 million, but I haven't seen a cent.
Yeah.
because we had to pay back, the bridge loan and this other thing. And then we had investors came in for just the marketing. And then we had this thing that happened. And you're just like, ugh, you're
Yeah.
burning investors left and right. And so we won't do that. Everybody gets paid back the same. Even the distribution deals that we're doing, like they are partnering and they are getting paid back with the investors, not first. So they're buying in to work on the film as opposed to taking a fee and taking a marketing budget and all that stuff. They're giving us six figures to distribute the movie. And they're getting paid back at the same time as the investors because they realize it's fair. And if it's fair for everybody, if it's honorable, if it's makes sense, then all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, we just have to make sure that this works. And then everybody works a little harder and is a little bit more fair and just makes it work for everybody. So that's the way I've approached it. It's a little
My
bit.
hat's off to you're kind of bucking the system and smashing the paradigms, because there's a lot of that in this industry. This is the way it's always been done. People cling to it even when it doesn't serve people really. So my hat's off to you.
Thank you.
We're getting near our time. Actually, we're past it, but that's okay. And I'd like to close with this quote from Russell Ballard that's on your website. God's purpose for the artist is to inspire, to give us visions of ourselves that we might not otherwise see, to make us better than we would have been. The world is better for the arts and artists in it. Few earthly things bring joy more fully to the world than the arts. And you are making a better place through story. And I want to thank you for that personally.
Oh, thank you.
Sure. So to the listeners, all Daren's information will be in the show notes. And we look forward to the next episode. And thank you so much, Daren.
Thank you so much.
It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah. Happy to do it again. If the listeners have questions, they know where to find me, and I'm an open book. So thanks so much.
I'll see you on LinkedIn.
Okay. See you there.
Okay. Bye. Thanks for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I enjoyed recording it. If you ever have suggestions or requests for guests you'd like to hear from on our show, drop me a line. My contact information is in the show notes. Until we meet again, stay cool.